Hey, I got a video for you to make your hips feel less tight and rotate better, which is really important because the hips are not just about linear motion. It should be able to rotate as well, and it's called the internal hip rotation, which I find most people actually have very poor internal hip rotation, especially when you sit down a lot. And if you have trouble or struggling with squats, maybe you have very poor internal hip rotation, possibly. So, but anyway, this is we call this the internal hip rotation, PAILs and RALs. This is a mobility move that I teach quite a bit in my kin stretch class. And why I teach this in the kin stretch class, because it seems like most people have very poor internal hip rotation, which obviously needs to be addressed. If you want a good mobile hips, you gotta have to be able to rotate inwards and outwards, which I'm gonna explain. But today I'm only gonna do internal rotation in this video, right? So now I would set up in a 90-90 position. Okay, so 90 degree here in the knee, 90 degree here in the knee. All right, and I would stay here and stretch for 2 minutes. So I should feel the stretch in this thigh here, underneath here. And if you struggle to stay in this position, I recommend that you lean back to a point where you can start to feel that is stretching here, not cramping here. If you cramp, move out of that position, set up again, find your entry point that you can actually breathe and stretch properly and not actually cramped up. All right, so now say after 2 minutes I got a good stretch, and say my entry point is here. So what happened is we're gonna do the PAILs portion to start with, then we do the rail. So the PAILs is called the progressive angular isometric loading. So isometric means no change in muscle length here. So we will load it up. So what happened is I'm actually working on this side of my hip, my left side. I'm rotating this thigh this way. So now I'm going to borrow this Batman from my son, and hopefully it makes sense here. So he's in this position. He doesn't have a really good hip because his hip here can't externally rotate, but that's okay. So he will do this. Hopefully you can see it. So that means he's doing this now. All right. So, but I'm not going to get you to do this. I'm going to get you to do 90-90. Okay. So you look. All right. The hip like this. All right. So what I'm trying to get you to do in that 90-90 position is the left hip here. See the left hip joint here. Here should rotate against the floor like this. So the force is to push it down like this. All right, so the tissue here, all right, the progressive tissue is pushing down, all right, the thighs, but you know, you're pushing against the floor, you're static, you're not moving anywhere. That's isometric. And you don't want to do this. Okay, we want to do rotation like this. Okay, not this way. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Oh, let's talk about regression, the rails as well. The rails is the second portion. The rails, when we do the rails, we want to attempt to lift, regress. So use the tissue here, the reverse tissue on the glutes here, right, the back of your thighs, and try to bring it up. Try to close up this joint. So all right, that makes sense. So you move in the opposite direction. So I'm going to get into the 90-90. All right, so the Batman is in this position, but not actually in the 90-90. Hopefully this makes sense. And I will rotate this thigh into the ground. So to get more feedback, I can have my hand here underneath this thigh. My hand here is trying to pull this thigh out. But my rotational force, I repeat, rotational force is driving this hand down, but I'm pushing against the floor. This thigh is not going anywhere in terms of rotating this way. All right, and then I'm going to get you to use a reverse tissue. In this case, I can use my hand here, put it on top of my ankle there, on top of the foot there, and try to feel that I'm trying to use my tissue here, the glutes here, to try to lift this leg up, try to push against this blocking hand, and I feel the tissues turning on, and that's when I start to close in. So you're not passive, you're turning your muscles on to get you in, close up this joint, all right, and then stay in this position. And then you're going to try to relax here, maybe stay here for about 30 seconds, all right, 2 deep breaths, 5 seconds in, and then 10 seconds up. So what happened is this, so you can see the Batman, your hips end up being like this, right? Hopefully you can see that. Okay, and give it a shot, test the hips out. If you like this video, you like the, how this video has helped you, please give it a share with your friends who may need this, all right?